Hello, it's Leslie Fightmaster, and we have today a class for good posture. And I'm doing a collaboration with Brett Larkin, who is a wonderful teacher in Northern California. If you have a block, please get a block handy and sit right on the edge, lifting the shoulders up, back, and then down. And now lift your chest and allow your shoulder blades to draw gently towards your waist. And then I'll invite you to set your intention. Maybe your intention will be for good posture today. And below I will have a link for Brett Larkin's video that is also about practicing proper posture. And then if you practice this class and Brett Larkin's class, you will have doubly good posture, which I would recommend. Just take another long breath here, and then we'll release. Moving the block out of the way for now. Make your way onto your back. So as we're lying here on our backs, we're going to get familiar with the natural curves of our spine. So our spine has natural curves, and you'll be able to feel them on the mat. So as you're lying here, notice how your buns touch the floor, but then right above your buns, there's a lift where the lower back is. Now, if it's a really big lift, try to reach your tailbone toward the heels. Then you'll notice that your upper back touches the floor, but then your neck doesn't touch the floor because there is a natural curve in the neck. Now, the upper back curves like a roundness naturally. So we're going to practice that too. We're going to grab a block. Take an inhale, lift your arms up. As you exhale, reach your arms overhead. Now they might not go all the way in line with the ears. What you might find happening is that arch in the low back could increase. So if that happens for you, draw your front ribs in and reach your tailbone toward your heels strongly. And you'll inhale again to reach the arms up and then release the block. We're going to practice that again. So you'll notice if you have tightness in your shoulders, inhale arms up, exhale arms in line with ears or as close to as you can get. If you do have tightness in the shoulders, that's when your ribs will pop up and your low back will overarch. So correct that by drawing the front ribs in and reaching the tailbone toward the heels and lifting your hip points toward your navel. Inhale, reaching up. And lower. Now, if you can't get that arch out of the low back and the ribs won't soften into the front of the body, then don't take the block as far. Also, if your chin is way higher than your forehead, put something underneath your head like a little pillow. Inhale again, arms up and over any amount. And again, pull the belly in. Watch those ribs. Pull the ribs in, reach the tailbone toward the heels, and breathe here. Keep drawing the belly and lifting the hip points up. Inhale the block up and release it off to the side. So if you don't have a block today, you can use something else to hold, but grab a couple blankets or a pillow that you'll be able to sit on in a little while. From here, we'll cross at the shins and make our way onto hands and knees. So this is another way we can work on stabilizing the natural curves in the back. So in a neutral spine, we want a little bit of arch in the low back, but not rounding, not like too much rounding and not too much sinking down. So just practice rounding a lot and then sinking down. Then you can find the middle. When you find the middle, your chest will come slightly forward, your ribs and your belly will pull in, and there will be a little bit of a natural arch in the low back because that's what we have, but we don't want to overemphasize it. Now extend the right leg back, tucking the toes under. So instead of letting the right hip lift up, drop the outer right hip down and keep your ribs and your belly pulled in. Then lift the right leg up. Now there is a tendency to arch the back again as the leg lifts. So re-stabilize the torso. Make sure that the hip is still dropping down on the outer hip, and then pull the ribs and belly in firmly. Wrists should be right underneath the shoulders. And then we'll set that one down. And now the left leg back. Toes tucking under. Now watch that the left hip doesn't lift up. We want to keep the outer hip dropping down. As you lift the left leg, lift it from the inner thigh, but don't let the back arch. We want to keep the belly lifted and the ribs drawn in to keep a stable torso. So we're practicing that. And then watch that you don't sink right over into your right hip also. And release it. And then take the hips back to the heels into a child's pose. Anytime you want to take a child's pose, you always have the option of pushing pause and resting. That's the nice thing about practicing at home. You can take it a little bit more at your own pace. Now let's come back to table, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips again. Extend the right leg back. Toes tucking under, pull the ribs and belly in, but keep the chest moving forward. We don't want to round the back. We don't want to arch the back. We want it right in the middle, keeping the natural curves. Lift the right leg up from the inner thigh. Now extend the left arm forward. Now you might end up dropping the belly down and making too much arch in the low back. So pull the belly in, draw the front ribs in, drop the outer right hip down, lift the inner thigh up, and stretch through that arm and that leg. This should be some work. We really have to work to keep the spine stabilized in the torso. And release it. Now we'll do the left side. So again, belly and ribs in and up. Extend the left leg back. Looking, keeping the gaze slightly forward. Don't let the head drop. Lift the inner thigh of the left leg, to lift it up. And you can even feel back there to make sure your hips are level. Watch that you're not overarching. Watch that you're not over rounding. Right in the middle. Reach through the left leg, reach through the right arm. Pull the ribs and belly in. Drop the outer left hip down so that the hips are level. Nice level hips. Stretching through and releasing. Some people call that one bird dog. And now we'll tuck the toes under and come into down dog. So you can keep a shortened down dog for this first one if you like. And then we'll just walk the hands and the feet toward each other. Hands to feet, feet toward the hands. Make a long spine and bend the knees as you need to. Then hands to hips. Just grab your hips. Inhale. Come all the way up to standing. So we're going to find our Tadasana pose. So we need to find equal standing in our feet. So begin by pressing into the base of the big toes and the little toes, the inner heel, the outer heel. Make sure the outer edges of the feet are parallel, either big toes together or feet hips width. Find that nice equal standing and then start to lift through your inner and outer arches of your feet. Press your thighs back. Pull up on the kneecaps, firm the quadriceps. Now your pelvis is kind of like a bowl. So we don't want to stick the buns back and get too much of an arch in the low back. We also don't want to round or drop the thighs forward and kind of make a flat butt. So we want it right in the middle. So a good thing to do is grab that block, or if you don't have your block, you can get a big thick book. Put it between your inner thighs. This will help to spin the inner thighs gently back as you drop your tailbone down toward the floor. And then try and lift your frontal hip points up toward your lower ribs. Now my lower back has a tendency to overarch. So let's lift the shoulders here up, back, down, and let them soften. So if you have that tendency as well, you'll constantly lift your hip points towards your lower ribs to correct. Lift the chest and your chin will be parallel with the floor. So now just notice that the bones are stacked all on top of each other. Take an inhale, lift the arms up. And again, if your shoulders are tight, arms by the ears, you might have your low back over arch and you might have your rib cage pop out. So draw the front ribs in. Or you can take your arms wider. If your shoulders are tight, don't bring them right up by the ears. Take like a big Y shape. Reach up, make sure the shoulder blades soften away from the ears. We want them to soften down, but we don't want the shoulders way hiking up or dropping down too much. Right in the middle. Nice balance. It's all about the balance. And then take that block with your hands, inhale, and start to reach up. So if your arms will come by your ears, let them, but correct any arch in the low back by pulling the front ribs in and lifting the hip points up. So we always want our bones stacked on top of each other. It's the least amount of pressure on our skeleton. As you have that block overhead, your outer upper arms, triceps will spin forward, and that's good. And then release it down. Now we'll add on a little bit. Inhale, circle the arms out, around, and up, and then spinning the triceps forward, keep the shoulder head right into that socket in the arm. As you exhale, you will stick your buns back, but don't arch again. Don't overarch. Keep the belly lifted, the ribs in, just like we did in table. Fold over the legs. If you need to bend your knees, then bend them. That's okay. If you can straighten the legs, then pull up on the kneecaps, firm the quadriceps. Inhale, come halfway up, lengthen forward, but without that overarching of the back. Exhale, fold. So we always want to find stability. If you can't reach the floor or your legs, use your block. Inhale, float the arms out, around, and up. As you reach up, spin the triceps forward. Watch those ribs, watch that lower back, and then exhale the hands to the heart. Samastitihi. Again, inhale, sweep the arms up. So reach up through the arms, but soften the shoulder blades away from the ears, but not too much. Exhale, hinge from the hips. Hips go back as you come forward, but keep the ribs and belly drawing in and up the whole time. Crown of the head reaching down. If you can't reach the floor, put your hands on a block. Inhale, halfway up, lengthen. Again, pull the ribs and belly in. You can have hands on shins or hands on a block, but watch that low back. Keep it from overarching. Chest forward here. Hips over the heels. Exhale, fold in. Hips over the heels if the legs are straight. Press evenly through the feet and rise up, inhaling. Stretch up tall. And exhale, hands to heart. And finding that equal standing again, that nice Tadasana. Make sure your feet, outer edges of feet, still parallel. Reach up on your inhale. Exhale again to fold, hinging at the hips. Keep the ribs and belly pulled in and up. Legs firm unless you need to bend the knees. Inhale halfway up, bend the knees, plant the palms, and step back to plank pose, top of a push-up. Watch that you're not dropping the hips down or lifting them up too high. We go on it right in the middle. Tailbones reaching toward heels. Let's take the knees down and then again watch the low back. Pull the ribs and belly in and up. And pause here. Keeping that stability. You can have knees up or down. And then lift the hips, make your way into downward facing dog. So one thing I see a lot here is the archy back in down dog. So continue to pull the ribs and the belly in, pressing the weight up to the hips, down to the heels. Arms are shoulders distance and the feet are hips width, with the outer edges of the feet still parallel. So the second toe is right in line with your heel. Look forward, bend the knees, and stepping or hopping the feet up. Inhale, look up, lengthen the spine. Exhale to fold. Bend the knees if you need to, or straighten the legs, hips over heels. Rise up, inhaling, keep the belly lifted, stretch up tall, drop the tailbone, make sure the ribs are still in, and then exhale, hands to heart, samastitihi. Finding again that equal standing, outer edges of your feet parallel. Press evenly again into the base of the big toes, little toes, inner outer heels. Inhale, circle the arms up, look up gently, shoulder blades away from ears. Exhale, hinge from the hips and fold, keeping the spine very long. not arching the back as you come forward. Bend the knees, and then halfway up on the inhale to lengthen. Bring the chest forward, fold in again. Plant the palms with knees bent. We'll step back again to plank, top of a push-up. Keep the ribs and belly drawing in. Shoulders are over wrists in plank. Please feel free to take your knees down, but still work the belly, still lifting hip points up. Shift forward about an inch, lower slowly to the floor. Try to have everything touch down at once. Take your hands by your low ribs, cobra. Inhale, peel the chest, toes point straight back behind you, inner thighs lift up. Actually, same position with the legs as in Tadasana, mountain pose. Lower down. We should have the wrists right underneath the elbows. So mine are a little far back. So inhale, peel the chest, lifting up again. Maybe a little higher, and then to the knees, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Let's keep the knees bent on this one and try to touch your belly to your thighs. Keep the hips really high. Then slowly straighten the legs as much as you can. Grab your block, stick it right between the inner thighs here. It's the same action, the same movement as if you're standing in Tadasana or mountain pose. Inner thighs spin back. Keep the ribs and belly drawn in, arms and ears in line. So all of this is good posture in these poses. Then you can translate this good posture off of your mat into the rest of the world. Bend the knees, look up, remove the block, step your feet up or hop. Inhale, look up, lengthen, shoulder blades toward waist, but belly in. Exhale to fold. Do you notice the belly stays in a lot? Inhale, sweep the arms out, around, and up. And then exhale. So when the belly's lifted in, it's not harsh, but it's just lifted in. Take a quarter turn to one side of your mat so you're facing the long way. Turn the right leg all the way out, the back toes in a little. Line up your front heel with your back arch. Inhale your arms up. As you exhale, look over your right hand and bend the right knee. So we want to make sure the right knee is over the middle toes. Take your right hand, brush it from your inner thigh to your inner knee, and then bring it around to the back and drop your front hip down. Then lift your left inner thigh up. So that lift of the inner thigh, the back leg, is just like we would do if that was in Tadasana. Inhale, straighten the front leg, arms reach up. Exhale, bend the knee. Watch the tracking of the knee in line with the second toe and over the heel. Keep the inner thigh of the back leg lifted. And again, inhale, straighten the leg, reaching up. Watch the shoulder blades. Exhale and bend in. Keep the chest lifted and the collarbones wide. And now take your feet to parallel, and we'll do the left side. Left leg out, back toes in, heel to arch with the alignment. So the inner thigh is even lifted up here slightly, and then bend the left knee. Make sure it's over the ankle. Keep that knee over the ankle, really important. Brush from the inner thigh to the inner knee, lining up your knee, and then take the left hand to the top of the left hip. Dropping the hip down, gazing over left fingertips, and then lift the back inner right thigh up. Inhale, straighten your left leg, reaching up. And exhale, bend the knee, again over the ankle. Keep the knee in line with the second toe and keep it over the ankle. Inhale, arms up. As you exhale, again, bend the knee. With the knee bend, press the weight into the heel. So left heel's pressing down. Inhale and back to center. Feet parallel. And then step the feet together. We'll come back to the front of the mat to Samastitihi. So hands onto the hips. Again, let's find equal standing in the legs and we'll practice tree pose. So shift the weight to the left foot and draw the left hip in towards center. Pick up your right foot, take it below your knee or above, either way. Press the foot, the right foot, into the left inner thigh, but drop your right hip down. So we want to keep the hips as level as we can here. Make sure the left hip is still pinning in towards center. It's not jutting out to the left. Keep the right foot pressing into the left leg, and you can have it up as high or as low as you like. Hands to hearts. Inhale, sweep the arms up. So as you reach up here, spin the triceps forward, keep lifting the chest, drawing shoulder blades down. Make sure those ribs don't pop out here either. And dropping the right hip down, pinning the left hip in. And slowly release the arms, release the leg. Shift your weight over to the right foot. Make sure the outer right foot's parallel with the outside of your mat. Picking the left foot up, take it anywhere below your right knee or above, but keep the right hip pinning in towards center. Okay, and then drop your left hip down as you lift your left leg up. Hands to heart. And inhale, arms reaching up. Spin the triceps forward. Watch how you reach the arms up. Arrow straight arms. We want those elbows to straighten out if you can. Otherwise, they won't straighten after a while. Keep the ribs pulling in, the tailbone dropping down. Steady drishti, steady gazing point helps with balance. And slowly release the arms and release the leg. Let's come back to the front of the mat with the feet parallel, either together or hips width. Inhale, sweep the arms up, shoulder blades soften, watch that low back, pull the ribs in. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, look up, lengthen, heart forward. Bend the knees, plant the palms, stepping into plank again. Chest forward. Heels back, hip points lift. Again, hips and shoulders should be in about the same line. Shift forward, try to lower everything down at once. You can always take knees down first. Then take your arms by your sides for Shalabhasana. I like these Shalabhasana poses because they're back strengtheners, but reach your tailbone toward your heels and still here lift your frontal hip points up toward your lower ribs. The inner thighs lift up. Inhale, lift everything off the floor. Now watch the neck, so keep the back of the neck long. Inner thighs lift up like you're holding a block between them. Reach the fingertips back, lift the shoulder heads up. Widen across the collarbones, and then lower down to rest. Plus, I like these poses because they get into the upper back to try to flatten out the spine in the upper back a little bit, the thoracic spine, which is prone to rounding. And we don't want to round it. We want it to stay nice and open for us. So inhale again, lift everything up. So make sure that you're pressing your pubic bone down lightly. Put the block between your inner thighs if you wish to squeeze so the inner thighs spin up. Pubic bone is pressing down, tailbone is reaching toward the heels. That way you're not overarching the lower back. And then release. Pubic bone pressing down. There it is. There's trouble with that one today. Hands under by the ribs. Press up onto the knees and then just walk your feet forward. We're going to come to seated. I'm going to sit again on the block. So what this does, it helps to lengthen my spine without my having to work as much. So we'll extend the legs out. Now, if you've got an archy low back like I have normally, then you're not going to want to sit on the block. But if your back's rounded a little bit at the bottom, the block can help. So here we go. This is how we are. We type at the computer, we drive our cars, the back is rounded, or on our phones. So lift the chest, widen the collarbones, pull the shoulder blades down the back. So again, shoulders up, back, down, and then let them soften. Keep the chest lifted. This is how we will always sit from now on, correct? Okay, good. So we're going to keep this nice length through the spine, all four sides of the waist. Spine is long, chest is lifted. Then flex your ankles, point your toes back, or pull them back actually. That will keep the legs nice and firm. So staying here for a couple more breaths. If you can hold this, I was told by a fellow yogi, if you can hold this for 7 minutes, you have a strong back. Inhale, sweep the arms up with a long spine, hinge from the hips, arms in line with the ears. Then You can reach for the legs or maybe the feet, but remember that rounded upper back I showed you a moment ago? Let's not do that. Let's lead with the chest and keep the spine lengthening. So belly is touching toward the thighs. And keep continuing to lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. As you inhale, you can probably get a little more length. And come on up. Hands behind. And just stretch out to the front of the body. Widen across the collarbones. That'll do a really nice job there. Then, let's remove the block. Bring the feet flat, fingertips forward. Inhale, lift into reverse table. So if your shoulders are tight, you might not be up as high, but try to get your hips as high as your shoulders and your knees all in one line. Then chin into chest, lower down. And then hug the knees in and roll yourself onto your back. Knees are hugging in. Rock gently from side to side. And then arms to a T. Let's drop the knees off to the left and look right. If you want a deeper twist, cross the right knee over the left. Now, if it bothers your neck to look toward your right hand, then don't. You can look up toward the ceiling. Inhale, center, uncross. Shift your hips off to the right, knees to the left, and look over the right shoulder. Sorry, look over the left shoulder. Oops. Or you can look up if it bothers your neck. And then back to center. And then let's make our way into Shavasana. So again, let's reach the tailbone toward the heels, making sure we don't have too much arch in the lower back, but also draw the shoulder blades toward the waist. Now, if your chin is higher than your forehead, put a little pillow underneath your head. That way you can completely relax. Let your feet flop open, your arms by your sides, palms up. Once you get into a comfortable position, just sink in. Let your body be nice and heavy. Notice again those natural curves of the spine. Just noticing, not changing. Release your Ujjayi breathing, natural breathing now. So since this is coming out on Labor Day, it's a holiday in the US, I have a quote from Confucius. Choose a job you love, and you will never have to work a day in your life. And now, just rest a moment. Start to move your hands and your feet, your fingers and your toes. Stretch your arms overhead, nice long stretch. And then bend the knees, feet onto the floor, roll yourself off to your right. Pause a moment for gratitude. A practice without gratitude is not a complete practice. And then make our way up to seated. Again, find that nice long spine. Sit on your block if you like, or your blanket. Bring your hands together in front of the heart. Hands to our forehead to remind us to have clear and loving thoughts. Hands to the heart, reminding us to have clear and loving intentions. Hands to the mouth to remind us to have clear and loving communication, sending out this wonderful energy we created to all beings everywhere. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining us today. And please check out Brett Larkin's class. The link will be below. If you liked our class, please push the like button and subscribe, and also subscribe to Brett's channel and share. Sharing is caring. Okay, I'm a dork. I don't know why I said that. And if you are able to send a donation of any amount, there's a link below for that as well. Or you can go and do that at fightmasteryoga.com. And while you're there, you could sign up to our mailing list. And I am getting ready to send out an email. I haven't sent one out yet since we started our email list a few months ago. So I'm working up to it. And if there are any suggestions that you have for classes, please put your suggestions below. And we really appreciate any donations that you can make. It helps people who can't afford yoga to have access to free yoga classes. And we would love to just make it reach all the way around the globe a bunch of times. Bye!